Welcome on this warm afternoon to the Baha'i House of Worship for North America. It's our honor to host today, or to welcome you all to the House of Worship for this very fascinating and unique opportunity for many of us to hear about the Zoroastrian religion and its background and its significance. Just to begin with, other than welcoming you on behalf of the Baha'i House of Worship and the staff here, I'll offer a prayer, and then we will begin our program. And thank you, Van Gilmer, for your music. Yes. O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy most holy presence, they are all thy servants, and all mankind are sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All have gathered together at the table of bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy providence. O God, thou art kind to all. Thou hast provided for all. Thou dost shelter all, conferrest life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree and make the nations one, so that they may see each other as one family and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father God, gladden our hearts through the fragrance of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word, and shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty and powerful. Thou art the forgiving, and thou art the one who overlookest the shortcomings of all mankind. Thank you, and I'd like to introduce now Greg Richardson from the Alliance, who will come and tell you more about today's program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George, for your inspirational prayer. It strikes the perfect chord of unity, peace that the Alliance aspires to. Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be together on this warm day and to see so many of you gathered in this beautiful space here at the Baha'i House of Worship. My name is Greg Richards, and I serve with the Leadership Circle for the New Trier Multi-Faith Alliance, in which I also represent Temple Jeremiah in Northfield. On behalf of all of the member communities of the Alliance, and there are, Junia, I think at last count, somewhere around 14, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all of you. And for those of you who are representatives of Alliance members, welcome. Thank you for being here today. In case you're not familiar with our group, it was founded as the Winnetka Interfaith Council more than 50 years ago to foster a dialogue between our various local faith communities. And through the years, it was expanded to include towns in nearby areas, and several years ago was renamed to reflect a somewhat wider scope. But the purpose of NTMA remains the same: to increase understanding and sensitivity between faith communities. And through programs designed both to stimulate dialogue as well as action, we get to know one another and to respect the other, as it is often referred to in our scriptures, thereby encouraging collaboration, advocacy, and sharing of useful ideas for education and programming in our own communities. So you can find our website and our list of programs, both past and present, as well as other notable member community programs at ntmalliance.org, so ntmalliance.org, as well as on our Facebook page. I would like to thank our wonderful hosts, and this is certainly not a task that they are taking upon themselves for the first time, but we've enjoyed their hospitality many times and for many wonderful programs here at the Baha'i House of Worship, including George Davis, the always helpful Chris Vodden, and members of his events team here, including today Alan, and I think Lauren is up there in the booth, and I saw Anissa earlier, and all the wonderful volunteers. Thank you again, George, for your team's hospitality. But our greatest debt of gratitude today is owed to Thomas Murphy, a longstanding representative of the Baha'i community and a longtime staff member of the Baha'i National Assembly, who is also a member of NTMA's Executive Committee and joins myself there along with Junia Hedberg. And his role today was in producing, as co-host of or co-chair of our Interfaith Understanding Committee, this program. And he has helped produce a number of important educational and informational programs over the last 10 years or so, serving the purpose of the namesake of that committee, Interfaith Understanding. And as I mentioned, also here from our executive committee is Junia Hedberg from Winnetka Congregational Church, who is known for keeping the logistical engine of the Alliance humming away. And I see some other longtime friends and members. I see Paran Stevens is here. I see Jan Smith. I feel like that old TV show where I'm looking out into the... I see Jimmy and I see Bobby. So anyway, thank you to our loyal members for supporting our programs. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Thomas, who will kick off this afternoon's program. Everyone, please welcome Thomas Murphy.
I'm a little soft-spoken, so can you hear me all right? Good. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon, friends. Greg, thank you for that kind introduction. Thanks to Van for the introductory music, as always, wonderful. And to Mr. George Davis, I'd like to say, I'm not sure that he said it himself, but George is the director of activities here at the House of Worship, so we're very pleased to have him here this afternoon with us and to have led us in getting this program started. And Greg has already explained to you a little bit about what this is about. This is an introduction to the Zoroastrian faith, which is an ancient faith, and one, just to put it in a nutshell, that goes back probably to 2,000 or 3,000 years prior to the Christian era, BCE as it's now commonly referred to, and one of the first monotheistic faiths in the world. But I'm not going to go any further than that in trying to present anything about this very interesting and significant part of our human religious development than to introduce our speaker for this afternoon. We were anticipating having two people join us this afternoon from the Zoroastrian Association for Metropolitan Chicago. Unfortunately, one of them, Mr. K.O. Marsh Mehta, is not able to be with us this afternoon as something has happened. There's an emergency surgery taking place in his family, and he gave his apologies for not being able to be here this afternoon. But with us today, I'm happy to say, is Ms. Aban Grant, who is a seasoned and experienced representative of, again, the Zoroastrian Association for Metropolitan Chicago, and one who frequently gives introductory talks like the one she'll give today on the prophet of the Zoroastrian faith, on its history, and on its impact on the religious development in the world and also on civilization. So we are just so pleased to welcome Ms. Grant and to have her take the stage now and present to us. And Aban, if you would, can you step forward? And here she is. Ms. Aban Grant.
I see my slides are working well. All right. I've been in this room a few times, several years ago, before the construction of the new building, when the presentation on the Baha'i faith used to be done in this room. I never in a million years would have ever thought that one day I would be standing up here. I am honored to be here today. Thank you very much to the Nutria Multi-Faith Alliance for reaching out to us and for inviting us. A special thank you to Thomas Murphy. What a wonderful turnout this is. Thank you very much. Thank you to each and every one of you for taking time out of your very busy day to be here today. I sincerely hope at the end of it you will find that it was worth your time. Thank you for being here. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of what Zoroastrianism is, where, when, and with whom it originated, what are the main tenets of Zoroastrianism, a little bit about our customs and traditions, and then I'm going to cover Kayomaz's portion, which was the impact and influence of Zoroastrianism on the other world, the major world religions. These are the words of Mary Boyce, who is, Dr. Mary Boyce is one of the most prominent, renowned scholars of Zoroastrianism. The picture I have over here is from the ruins of Persepolis. Persepolis is a city in present-day Iran. It was the ceremonial capital of the empire of the Achaemenid Empire under Darius III. Darius III had his ceremonial capital over here, and I have several pictures of the ruins in my slides. These are the words of Dr. John Hinnells. John Hinnells was a professor of comparative religion at the School of Oriental and African Studies, the University of London. He is considered an authority on Zoroastrianism. The founder of our faith is Zarathustra. The Greeks referred to him as Zoroaster. Both names are used frequently. Exactly when he lived is hotly debated, but based on linguistic comparisons and archaeological finds, his time of birth and living has been placed anywhere between 2000 and 1500 BC. That would place him in the Bronze Age. He was born in northeastern ancient Iran, which is current-day Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, somewhere in that region. He was born to a family of priests. He was a priest himself. At that time, the priests were very powerful. There was no organized religion. Religions tended to be sacrificial and ritualistic in nature. They were tribal religions. When he was 30 years old, he received a vision. He went into seclusion, and he had further revelations made to him. These revelations so transformed his view on religion. He wanted to preach what he had learned to the people. But his teachings and his preachings undermined the authority of the priests. They felt threatened by him. And so there were several attempts made on his life. However, he continued, and it wasn't until he was 42 years old he came upon the court of a king of Bactria, King Vistaspa, who was so impressed with his teachings that he made he became a disciple, and he made Zoroastrianism the religion of his court. From there, the religion spread far and wide. It was the dominant religion for 1,000 years, for 558 BC to 652 AD. It flourished during the rise and fall of several empires, but the major empires that it thrived under were the Achaemenians, the Parthians, and the Sasanians. The Achaemenian kings there were three major kings: Cyrus the Great, Darius III, and Xerxes the Great. They were all three kings that were very well known in history. It was during the reign of Darius III that the city of Alexander of Macedonia invaded, and the empire was brought to its knees, faded out. However, the religion still continued to exist, and it began to flourish again during the time of the Parthians and the Sasanians. It was further marginalized with the advent of Islam to ancient Iran in 652 AD. When Islam came into Iran, the Zoroastrians were faced with three choices: either convert to Islam, which many did, practice their religion in seclusion, or flee. Very many of them fled, were given asylum on the west coast of India. Those that were given asylum in India came to be known as Parsis. During the peak of Zoroastrianism, during the time of the Achaemenian period, Zoroastrianism was at its peak. It comprised of the Achaemenian Empire comprised of 25 countries, all of which Zoroastrianism was the state religion. It extended from Macedonia in the west to the Indus Valley in the east, from the Caucasus Mountains in Russia in the north, down to Egypt in the south. So as you can see, a very large empire at its time. So now we come to what exactly is Zoroastrianism? It is believed to be the first monotheistic religion, the belief of worship of only one God, whom we call Ahura Mazda, which means wise Lord. We believe that the twin forces of good and evil have existed from the beginning of time. We call the forces of good Spentamainu, the forces of evil Angramainu. And there is a constant tussle for supremacy between these two forces. Man is created a divine creature with a physical body and an eternal spirit. The purpose of creation of man is to do your part, is to do our part in aiding the forces of goodness, to vanquish the forces of evil. The only way we can do this is through our thoughts and through our actions and through our deeds. And so therefore, these are emphasized. It is not a prescriptive ethic, but one of personal responsibility. Zarathustra's message was a positive, life-affirming one that does not demand blind faith, rather belief, reason, and action on the part of the individual. The tenets of the faith are not based on fear and obedience, but rather an ethic of personal responsibility. Zarathustra revealed to his people that it was possible to both serve and honor God through a rational, ethical structure rather than through blind faith. Zoroastrians are asked to think before you believe, make your own choices, not based on blind faith or by what somebody else tells you to do. Central to Zoroastrianism is moral choice. Morality can be summed up in the three H's, which are humata, hukta, and huverishta, which is good thoughts, good words, good deeds. This is the quintessence of Zoroastrianism. If you can do this every day in your life with every decision that you make, you will be doing your part to aid in the struggle of good versus evil in the world. How am I doing? Am I going too fast, too slow? Going okay? All right. The Amesha Spentas are the attributes, the divine attributes of Ahura Mazda that were revealed to Zarathustra that every human being should try to emulate. The first of them is Vahumanu. We are created as humans with intelligence, capable of making decisions based on reason. We have free will. We are endowed with Vahumanu, or the good mind, which is a divine attribute capable of guiding us when we are confronted with any situation. Zarathustrians, or Zoroastrians, declared that man must think for himself before he believes. We are given the freedom to choose between good and evil. We are also responsible for the consequences. Asha is the ultimate truth, the ultimate right. It embodies righteousness, truth, wisdom, justice, and progress. Shatra refers to the divine strength and power. As soldiers of God, we have to actively fight to promote goodness, to defeat the forces of evil. Armaiti refers to Ahura Mazda's purity and devotion. Ahura Tat and Amera Tat are perfection and immortality, which are the twin rewards for a life well lived. The book that we use as our prayer book is referred to as the Avesta. It is written in the ancient Avestan language, which is no longer a spoken language. Contained within this book are 5 songs or 5 chapters, which are believed to be the words of Zarathustra himself. How are Zoroastrians encouraged to apply the teachings of Zarathustra to our daily lives? Zoroastrianism is often referred to as the religion of the good life. It is also referred to as the religion of truth and consequence, and I will explain that to you. Mankind is given the freedom of choice in everything that they say and do, freedom to make a good choice and to reap the rewards, freedom to make a bad choice and suffer the consequences. Hence it is called a religion of choice and consequences. The relationship between man and God is very different in Zoroastrianism compared to a few other faiths. In Zoroastrianism, there is no intermediary person that can mediate between you and God when you make a mistake. In other words, you cannot have another human being absolve you of any crime that you have committed. You are answerable only to God. We have a responsibility to actively promote good, to vanquish evil, and thus move not only ourselves, but the whole of creation towards a state called Frashokerti, which is the final resurrection, when we believe that all of creation will live in a state of purity and everlasting bliss. It is called the religion of the good life because in Zoroastrianism, asceticism and celibacy are not encouraged. We believe that we only have one life, and so we are encouraged to partake of everything that life has to offer, as long as we do it responsibly, intelligently, without harming either the environment or ourselves, and in the process, practice charity generously. That's why it is referred to the religion of the good life. Generation of wealth is strongly encouraged because it's only when you have plenty that you're in a position where you can share plenty. Charity as a way of life is very important to Zoroastrians. We believe that by practicing charity, we improve this, not only this physical world, but also the spiritual world. Symbolism. The symbol of the Zoroastrian faith is the farohar. It is this emblem that you see before you. It is similar to a cross that Christians might wear. I wear a farohar around my neck, just like a Christian might wear a cross. It is divinity in humanity. It represents that little piece of God that resides within each one of us, a fravashi or a conscience, if you will. Whenever we're faced with having to make a decision, we have that little voice within us that prompts us to take the right course. But because we are blessed with free will, oftentimes we don't heed that voice. How often have we said to ourselves, I knew I shouldn't have done that. It was that voice prompting you to take the right course of action, which you chose to ignore. Every part of this figure has got some significant symbolism. To name just a few, it is the face of an old man to symbolize the wisdom of ages. His right hand is pointing upwards to show that there is only one way to go, and that's towards God. His left hand holds a small ring, which is a symbol of faithfulness and loyalty. The wings on the two sides have got 3 tiers to remind you of good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And then the central ring in the center represents the eternal nature of the soul. It has no beginning and no end, to name just a few. Our fire temples, our temples are referred to as fire temples, and that is because we pray before a giant urn of fire. We've been mistakenly referred to as fire worshipers. We are not fire. We don't worship the fire. We use it merely as a symbol. Ahura Mazda has no shape, no form, no gender, and so there are no pictures of God. So we use fire as a symbol of that inner light, the inner flame that resides within each of us, of the illumined mind and truth, of God and godliness. Our temples the fire in our temples is tended with frankincense and myrrh, which, if you know your biblical stories, were the offerings made by the Magi to the infant Jesus, and that is because the 3 Magi are believed to have been Zoroastrian. I have a few pictures of a fire temple that we have in Houston, just to give you an idea of what it looks like inside. Our ceremonies. We have 2 important ceremonies. The first one is the Navjot ceremony. It's like a confirmation, performed for a child between the ages of 5 and 9 when they declare that they are going to live their lives as good Zoroastrians. The ceremony can only be performed for a child who is born of at least one Zoroastrian parent. In India, among the more orthodox Zoroastrians, the parent has to be the father. In North America, we're more liberal, and so it can be either parent that is born Zoroastrian can have the Navjot ceremony done for their child. During the ceremony, the child must learn their prayers. They recite the prayers along with the priest. They are invested with 2 garments. One is what we call the sadra. It is a thin muslin undershirt with a little pocket in the front, which symbolically reminds the wearer to fill the pocket with good deeds every day. And then we have a kasti, which is a thin woven cord, which is we tie around our waists, again to remind the wearer that they are tied to the practice of their faith. The other ceremony that we have are our wedding ceremonies, where the ceremonies are performed before a priest. They recite scriptures from the Avesta while showering the couple with rice, which is a symbol of fertility and prosperity, as well as dried fruit, again, symbols of fertility and prosperity. Festivals play a very important part in the Zoroastrians' life. The most important festival is Nowruz, or Nowruz, New Year's Day, which is celebrated on the spring equinox. It is not only celebrated among Zoroastrians, it is still a very large festival in Iran. It is, I see some people nodding. It is celebrated among people from Afghanistan. It is celebrated among people from Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, and several of the other Central Asian countries. And the Baha'is. All right, thank you. All right. The primal origin of the festival is the universal rhythms of earth and nature, as the earliest Zoroastrians were of a pastoral and agrarian society. It is the most important day for Zoroastrians. It is a day to come together, to thank Ahura Mazda for his bounty, to reflect on our lives. It is rebirth and rejuvenation at the same time, a celebration of continuity and tradition, a bridge between old and the new year, and a symbolic victory of light over darkness. On the spring equinox, the number of hours of dark night are equal to the number of hours of day. And from that day forward, the number of hours of daylight are a little bit more than the hours of dark. And it is a symbolic victory of the forces of light over the forces of darkness. Another interesting thing is that we now use the Gregorian calendar, but it used to be that there used to be the Julian calendar, which had March as the first month of the year. If March is the first month of the year, then September, Septa, would be the 7th month. October, Octo, would be the 8th month. December, Deca, would have been the 10th month. But at some point, 2 months were added on to January and February, but the Zoroastrians did not change their calendar. Zoroastrians celebrate the holiday by cleaning their houses, ushering out the old to welcome in the new, by wearing new clothes, and by celebrating with family and friends and offering up prayers. The other festival we have is the seasonal gambars. When it came to the environment, Zarathustra was light years ahead of his time. He preached that the nature was God's creation, and therefore it was sacred. And so we venerate various elements of nature: the water, the earth, the skies, the sun, plants, and we have one day dedicated to them, to 6 of these elements during the year, when we offer up prayers and thanks for them, and also get together with family and friends to eat. All our festivals revolve around eating. The third festival we have is the Muktad. It is the festival of All Souls. It is the 10-day period when we believe that the souls of our departed loved ones come down to visit us. So during that time, we have extensive prayers. We clean our houses to welcome them in. And in our fire temples, we have a vase that is placed in memory of each person in the family that we are praying for. So this is 10 days called the Muktads. Our funeral ceremonies. We believe that the moment a person dies, his soul exits the body, and what is left behind is impure and should be disposed of as soon as possible. And so, therefore, our funerals tend to take place within about 24 hours after a person passes away, in most cases. We believe that it takes 4 days for the soul to wing its way up towards God. In the pre-dawn hours of the 4th morning, the soul meets judgment. This is the time when the good that the soul has done is weighed against the bad that they are done, and judgment is passed on whether the soul moves to a state of everlasting and eternal bliss, or to a state of despair. And so we have extensive prayers for the 4 days, and especially on the morning of the 4th day, to help the soul transition to a state of immortality and bliss. Since we cannot consign an impure body to the fire, because the fire is sacred, and we cannot put the body into the earth, because this earth is sacred as well. In ancient times, the body was placed in what is called the Tower of London, the Tower of Silence. It would be nice if it was the Tower of London, but it isn't. I'm sorry. The Tower of Silence, where the body is offered up back to nature. It is your last act of charity where you allow nature to take over and dispose of the body. In the world as it is today, it is impossible to have a Tower of Silence, so we do cremate our dead. I want to mention this to you. In 539 BC, Cyrus the Great, who was the king of the Achaemenid Empire, defeated the Assyrians and he freed the Jews from Babylon. He allowed them to return to their native Jerusalem. He gave them complete freedom to practice their own religion, and he even ordered the reconstruction of the Temple of Solomon. He has been heralded as a Messiah, and there is somewhere in the late 19th century, in Mesopotamia, I think it was, the Cyrus cylinder was discovered. It now resides in the British Museum. It is an ancient clay cylinder on which is written a declaration in the name of Cyrus the Great. The text praises him as a ruler chosen by God to save his people. He's described as a benefactor of the citizens of Babylon who improved their lives, repatriated displaced people. His treatment of his citizens cites his heritage of human understanding, tolerance, courage, compassion, and above all, human liberty. It is considered the first symbol of human rights, or the first bill of human rights. This is a comparison between the wordings of the Cyrus cylinder, the US Constitution, and the UN Charter of Human Rights. You will notice a parallel in the sentiments expressed between all three, which is why the Cyrus cylinder is considered the very first bill of human rights. Zoroastrianism has had a major effect on the development, a vital role in the development of the other Western religions. I have a list of these, and I'm going to keep that list up here. I'm going to quote from Zoroastrianism, the Mother of All World Religions, which was a book written by Keki Bot, who was a long-term resident of Glencoe. I see a few people nodding their heads. He was a scholar and authority on Zoroastrianism. Zarathustra's theological legacy to the major religions of the world is both joyful and sad. It's a source of joy that his theology was the foundation for the principles of each of the major religions. At the same time, it is unfortunate that the prophet's seminal contribution to religious thought, is so little known and so little conceded, even among the modern world's religious leaders. Zarathustra preceded the founders of the other major religions, living 500 years before Moses, 2,000 years before Christ, and 2,600 years before Muhammad. Zarathustra's monotheism was a watershed departure from the rampant polytheism of the Near East and much of Europe. Zoroastrianism's political dominance as a state religion was pervasive in the entire region for 1,200 years, from 550 BC to 652 AD. But not only was it pervasive, it was persuasive without compulsion. The tolerant and religious spirit and generous spirit of the Zoroastrian rulers attracted adherents. The influence of Zoroastrianism on Judaism. The interchange of Zoroastrianism thought with Judeo-Christian ideology first took place when Cyrus the Great in 539 BC repatriated the Jews and freed them, allowed them to return to their country. They heralded Cyrus as their Messiah. This was prophesied 2 centuries earlier in Isaiah 45, I quote, "Thus saith the Lord to his anointed Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden to subdue nations before him," end quote. The Old Testament is replete with references to the Persian emperors Darius, Cyrus, and Xerxes. The impact of Cyrus's treatment of the Jewish people was profound, and I quote, "This was only one of the many liberal acts recorded of Cyrus, but it was of particular moment for the religious history of mankind. For the Jews entertained warm feelings thereafter for the Persians, and this made them more receptive to Zoroastrian influence." This is from the book Zoroastrians, Their Religious Beliefs and Practices by Dr. Mary Boyce. Judaism, post-exilic period, saw a shift in Judaism as a result of close contact with Zoroastrian theology and the genuine respect for Zoroastrian rulers who gave the people complete freedom, religious, economical, and social. For example, the pre-exilic Judaism had no visionary goal for life, no highlighting of ethics, no hope for an afterlife. Satan played no role in the early start of the Torah. God was omnipotent. He was also the source of evil temptations. By the 2nd century, Jewish texts had elevated Satan as a prince of darkness. This was during the Parthian period when the Zoroastrian-Jewish relations were at their closest. There are several parallels between the two faiths. Each had a divine revelation, the belief in only one God. Each emphasizes the highest ethics of good thoughts, good words, and deeds. Each believes in concrete action rather than mere faith. Each refrain from asceticism and celibacy. Each considers salvation to be a lifetime of work, to name just a few. Zoroastrianism and its influence on Christianity. I quote, "It is out of a Judaism enriched by 5 centuries of contact with Zoroastrianism that Christianity arose in the Parthian period, a new religion with roots thus in 2 ancient faiths, one Semitic, the other Persian. Doctrines taught perhaps a millennium and a half earlier by Zoroaster began in this way to reach fresh hearers." The words of Dr. Mary Boyce, her book Zoroastrians, 1979. Zoroastrianism, though, is a reflective religion that gives man the inherent right to choose for himself. Man holds the power for his fate. Christianity, on the other hand, can be reviewed as a prescriptive faith that lays forth a set of rules and gives man the responsibility of following them. Both Zarathustra and Christ were perceived as a source of irritation and a cause of hostility among the priestly and ruling class. One was considered a man of wisdom, the other was considered the son of God. The influence of Zoroastrianism on Islam. Zoroastrianism's influences on Islam were more indirect, emanating from Zoroastrianism's theological contributions, first to Judaism and then to Christianity. Yet there are contacts with the great Zoroastrian Sasanian Empire. One such was Zoroastrian priest Dastur Dinar, who was Muhammad's teacher and later recorded the utterances of the prophet. During Muhammad's lifetime, Zoroastrians were protected by his proclamation, which was called Abed Nam. Among the strong influences of Zoroastrianism on Islam were the promotion of goodness and a focus on charity, an upliftment of the poor, angelology and demonology, heaven and hell, the final judgment, and a few others. So it is not wrong to state that Zoroastrianism is the mother of the other world religions. I'm going to end with a short prayer. This is one of our daily prayers. Our prayers are in the ancient Avestan language. I have the prayer on the left and the translation on the right. Say it along with me if you can. Hashem vahu, vahestam asti, usta asti, usta ahmai, yadashai, vahestai, Hashem. And it loosely translates, to think a good thought, to speak a good word, to do a good deed is the best. Everlasting happiness to those who follow the path of Asha. How am I doing on time? I did pretty good. Yes, all right. I'm sure you're all tired of listening to this one voice. I would be very happy to take questions. I am not an authority on Zoroastrianism. I am just born one and have lived the religion. I try and live the faith every day, so I will try at my very best to answer your questions. If there's something I cannot answer, I promise I will get you the answer. Yes?
I'm going to circulate with the microphone. Sound, thank you so much. First of all, I would like to welcome our speaker, or thank our speaker again for her wonderful presentation. Thank you, Aban, for a fascinating presentation. And because we are recording today's program, you will be able to recall it from our website later, and that's the reason for the microphone for Q&A. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I noticed in the pictures of the ceremonies, the celebrations, that the people it was mostly men, and they were wearing all white,
Yes.
long robes with long sleeves and a white hat, and they also seemed to have a white mask over their faces. Would you explain just a little bit about this kind of appearance?
Is this what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yes. This is the garb of our priests. Our priests wear, under that he has on a shirt and pants, but he wears a white robe over it. He wears a hat. He covers every part of him so that he does not contaminate the fire. And therefore he wears it's just a cloth that they tie over their nose and mouth so that while they're praying, they don't contaminate the fire.
And I think one of the questions that's raised, do women play a role in the clergy or in administrative
Good question.
service?
Not as of now. I do believe that maybe in Iran or somewhere in Canada, they have ordained one woman as a priest. But otherwise, no. Our priests are all men.
Okay. And is there anything in scripture or tradition that specifies that, or is
No,
it a
there
matter
isn't.
of custom?
Yes, it's just how it's been.
Excuse me while I make my way around.
Thank you. You mentioned that for a child to be what I would call baptized, but that's not the
Yes.
right word. One of the parents has to be Zoroastrian.
Yes.
What if someone, I'm not ready to convert, but what if someone wants to become? Is there a process for that that's different?
So I didn't go into it, but the reason we are less than 200,000 Zoroastrians in the world today. And the reason for that is we were given asylum in India on one condition, that we would not convert the local population. And so we have kept to ourselves. We practice our faith on our own. We have our wedding ceremonies in the evening. We do not allow, in India, if you are not born of at least one Zoroastrian, you cannot go into the fire temple. We are very much more liberal here. Everybody is welcome. But we still hold on to that one rule that you have to be born of one parent. In India, it is the male. Over here, we consider ourselves liberal by saying either parent can be Zoroastrian by birth in order to be counted as Zoroastrian. Now, anybody can practice the faith. You have free choice. If you choose to practice the Zoroastrian faith, of course you can. But in order to have the Navjot ceremony and to be counted as Zoroastrian, you have to be born of one parent. There is a lot of pushback from the younger people who feel it is time for things to change because otherwise we are dying out as a religion. It is a beautiful religion. It's sad if we were to die out. But from the priestly class and from the more orthodox people, this is not happening.
Okay. And so the asylum, I assume, was granted following persecution in Iran,
In 652 AD, yes.
all the way to the back here.
Thank you so much. It's very interesting what you presented, especially I was looking at axial age study, and I saw how Zoroastrian was influential. I actually saw like in Zoroastrianism was the most consequential religion of the past 6,000 years as a bridge faith, and how influenced, especially you mentioned about the Persian and how Ezra was sent to Jerusalem to rebuild Judaism, and that's where the influence comes from Ezra, and you mentioned about post-Ezra and the influence on Judaism. What I would like to see is that you mentioned about old Abrahamic religion. I just want to see that what's the influence of Zoroastrianism on the Dharmic religion, on Buddhism and Hinduism?
Zoroastrianism has a lot in common with Hinduism. Both of them originated around about the same time. The scriptures, the Avestan scripture in the Gothic language is very similar to ancient Sanskrit. So there was a lot of crossover because they both originated in about the same area in ancient Central Asia. So I know there is a lot of influences, both Zoroastrian influence on Hinduism and some Hinduism influence on Zoroastrianism. But they are very, very different religions, essentially. I am not an authority, and I don't know what Zoroastrianism's influence has been on Buddhism. I do know there has been some interchange of thought between the two. But if you're really interested, I will get that information to you.
Other questions? I saw some hands earlier. Okay, right up here. Here you go.
Thank you. That was fascinating.
Thank you.
You mentioned that good and evil existed from the beginning of creation. Is that correct? Is there a story of creation or how creation began?
No, good question. No, we don't believe in the biblical story of creation. We believe that these forces have always been there. How they were created, I don't believe we have an explanation for. Our story begins with our role in the struggle between the two forces and what we have to do, our part in the struggle. We do believe that at some point the forces of goodness, Spenta Mainu, will vanquish the forces of evil. It is a belief, it is a hope. But how creation started, I don't believe we have a text on the story of the creation of man, the creation of the universe. Sorry.
All right, we have a question here.
I read somewhere a while ago that in the marvelous thing I read about Zoroastrians, they didn't have slavery.
They did not have slavery?
That's what I read. They built for Persepolis, and they still have the receipts, the stone receipts of the architects and the masons and the builders. So they didn't have slave labor. Quite remarkable for that time of year. I mean, going back where everyone else had slaves, but they didn't. I just wanted to confirm that.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I did not know that, but that's wonderful.
Well, if social justice was an early theme,
Right.
then perhaps that is not too surprising. Okay, we have a question up front here. Here you go.
Thank you for the presentation.
You're very welcome.
You mentioned 4 days after passing, you enter eternal bliss or eternal despair, and then you mentioned repair, I think accidentally. Is there a chance for repair? And then if there is eternal life,
Yes,
is there a belief in reincarnation?
So according to Zoroastrianism, heaven and hell are not places that you go to. They're states of mind. So when you commit something that you shouldn't have done and you're judged to have to suffer for your actions, it is a state of despair. And it lasts, depending on the severity of what you did, it is for a period of time, and then there is an opportunity for you to then change your status and move to a state of perfection and bliss. I don't think anybody knows exactly how long that is. It's just what we believe, that yes, there is always hope, but you will have to pay for what you have done. Yeah.
And then is the eternal flame, it's just a state of mind, it's not the reincarnation like Hinduism?
We don't actually believe in reincarnation. I don't think Zarathustra, you have to remember, our texts were written like 4,000 years ago. So the concept of reincarnation is not available in any of his texts. But based on how he tells us to live our lives, it would seem hypocritical to say, well, if you screw up in this one, don't worry, you'll come back again. It's like, no, you only have this one life. Do what you need to do right here and now. So we don't advocate for reincarnation.
Thank you.
Thank you. I saw some other hands earlier. George, we don't want to overstay our welcome. I know we ran late today.
No, you're not.
Okay, good.
No problem.
All right.
To stay and ask other
Thank you so much. Thank you. One other question here.
Thank you so much. If you don't mind answering this question, that
If I
what
can,
are
maybe.
the underlying or specific differences between Parsi, I don't know if it's the right word, version of the faith and the Iranian style of Zoroastrianism?
That's a wonderful question. We have just one temple in the Midwest because our numbers are so small. It is in Burr Ridge. And we service Zoroastrians from all the Midwest states. So we include in our membership very many Iranian Zoroastrians who have emigrated from Iran. And the differences between us are not so much in our prayers and in our customs. The differences is in our language. Parsis that immigrated to India over the hundreds of years have become Indianized. We speak Indian languages, we wear Indian dress, our foods have changed. They're still different from Indian food, but we eat a lot of rice, we eat staple sort of Indian food, whereas, well, the Zoroastrians from Iran have, their language is Farsi, and their foods are more traditional Iranian foods. So the commonality is in the practice of the faith, but in traditions and in language, etc., we are different.
Speaking of which, are there other opportunities for members of the community to engage with and to learn from your community? Are there events during the year, for instance, at your place of worship in Burr Ridge that are open to the public?
Our place of worship is open to the public. Anyone can come in anytime. But having said that, we don't have a priest who has a full-time job over there. The building is locked up most of the time. You have to give us an advance notice. The practice of Zoroastrianism, the faith, is a very personal practice. We don't have mass. We don't have fixed times in the week when the congregation gets together to pray. It is your individual conversation with God as and when you choose and wherever you choose. You can come to the temple to pray, or you can pray at home. It doesn't really matter. But however, we do have a few festivals when the congregation gets together to pray, like our New Year's Day, and we have several others when we have events at the temple where we get together and pray. But if anyone should wish to come to the temple at any time, if you would reach out to me, I will tell you what is a good day or what is a good time to come when something was actually happening there. And you're very welcome. Anyone is very welcome to come and take a look around and meet other Zoroastrians. Yeah.
Well, I don't think we could ask for anything more. Any final questions? One here, and then we'll close.
You mentioned that Zoroastrians should enjoy the good life.
Yes.
I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on to the extent of indulging in the good life. There's various aspects of that, food,
Yes.
sex, that kind of thing.
Well, always making good choices. Let me start with that. But there is no food that we cannot eat. Unlike in Islam, you cannot eat pork, or in Judaism, there is nothing that we cannot eat. There is nothing we cannot drink. Partake, enjoy, but make reasonable choices. Am I saying go out and buy some cocaine? No, that would be a very poor choice. So enjoy whatever life has to offer, always making sure that you are harming not yourself, not somebody else. You're not harming the environment, and you are doing good while you're taking part in it. So, yes, so it's a religion of enjoy whatever life has to offer you, but do it responsibly.
Well, summertime in Chicago is as close as we all get to the good life, so we're going to let you get back out and enjoy it. But again, would you please show your appreciation for Aban?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And I would like to remind you that on the NTMA website under Alliance Events, we will shortly post the link to the video in case you have friends or colleagues who would like to see this again. And we'll keep an open door to the Zoroastrian community, and on our Facebook page, we'll list any events that are coming up that we learn about.
Thank you
But
very
thank you. I
much.
just wanted to...
Thank you for your time.
Thank you again so much
Thank
for
you
your
so
time.
much, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting this
Thank you,
all on,
everyone.
too.
Have a great afternoon.